There is a strange moment that happens to all of us. A moment when the world is quiet, yet inside, something won't stop echoing. A memory, a mistake, a sentence someone spoke years ago that still sits in the chest like a stone that refuses to dissolve. And even as the light of a new morning spills across your room, your mind is replaying a scene that no longer exists. You breathe in the present, yet live in a place that's already gone. It's as if time moves forward, but the heart is caught in a loop made of what was, what should have been, and what I still can't forgive. You can feel life happening now, the hum of traffic outside, the distant laughter of neighbors, the warmth of sunlight on your skin. But inside, an old pain whispers louder than the world around you. Noise and silence meet. The past and the present collide. And slowly, almost invisibly, you realize something heartbreaking. The past is not hurting you anymore. You are hurting yourself with the past. A single question rises, soft, trembling, impossible to ignore. If this moment is all you truly have, why do you let yesterday decide how you live today? We live in an age where the world moves faster than our hearts can follow. Screens refresh, notifications pulse, choices multiply. Yet inside, so many of us remain anchored to a time we can't return to. A younger version of ourselves, a lost relationship, a moment of failure that froze something deep within us. It's a paradox of the modern mind. The more opportunities we have to change our lives, the more tightly we cling to the one thing we cannot change: the past. Walk through any city, and you'll see it everywhere. A man sitting alone in a cafe, staring not at his coffee, but at something invisible. A memory replaying behind his eyes. A woman crossing the street, her body moving forward while her thoughts wander backward to a conversation she wishes she could rewrite. A teenager scrolling endlessly, trying to outrun a mistake that lives inside the glow of their screen. Motion and stillness. Forward and backward. Life and the ghosts of yesterday walking side by side. We don't lack progress. We lack presence. We don't lack information. We lack release. And perhaps the cruelest part is this: the past doesn't steal the present in one dramatic moment. It steals it quietly, through small, replayed worries, silent regrets, and the subtle tightening in the stomach when an old wound twitches inside us. Not a scream, but a whisper. Not a storm, but a shadow. We try to fix it by running faster. New hobbies, new people, new resolutions at the start of every year. But trying to outrun the past only exhausts us further, because we are sprinting in a circle, carrying the same emotional weight everywhere we go. The world outside speeds up. The world inside stays stuck. And in this contradiction, something essential is lost. Joy becomes muted. Love becomes fragile. Peace becomes a distant memory. We live, but we live divided. Part of us here, part of us trapped in a room that no longer exists. But what if the past is not the enemy? What if the true problem is the way we hold it, tightly, fearfully, as if letting go would erase who we are? What if the pain we carry isn't asking to be relived, but to be released? There is a deeper truth waiting beneath the surface of our busy minds. A truth whispered in the spaces between breaths. A truth the Dalai Lama points to with gentle clarity. Do not let the behavior of the past destroy your inner peace today. And before we can understand the path forward, we must ask, what would your life look like if you finally stopped carrying what no longer belongs to this moment? There is a quiet realization that arrives only when we stop running. It doesn't shout. It doesn't push. It simply waits, like dawn behind a closed curtain, for us to finally turn toward it. And the realization is this: the past is not a place. It is a pattern. It survives only through memory, through emotion, through the stories we repeat to ourselves long after the moment has ended. If we stopped repeating the story, the past would dissolve like fog under morning light. But we don't stop. We rehearse it. We analyze it. We measure our worth against it. Our pain becomes a narrative. Our narrative becomes an identity. And slowly, quietly, we begin to confuse who we were with who we are. This is where the true suffering begins. Because humans are not defined by time, but by attention. Whatever you give your attention to becomes your world. And if your attention stays locked on a wound from long ago, your world becomes a loop, static, unchanging, emotionally claustrophobic. Noise trapped inside silence. Movement trapped inside stillness. But there's an even deeper layer to this. The past only survives when emotion keeps feeding it. Think about this. A childhood memory with no emotional charge becomes a simple recollection. But a painful memory, a humiliation you still feel in your heartbeat, a betrayal that taught you to fear, a regret that wraps around your ribs like a cold hand, those memories stay alive because emotion revives them every time they return. It's not the memory that hurts, it's the emotional echo. Pain doesn't stay because it's powerful. Pain stays because you revisit it. And here's the hidden truth most of us overlook. You do not have to forgive the past to free yourself from it. You only have to stop reliving it. Forgiveness is healing, but release is freedom. And freedom can begin long before forgiveness arrives. This is the philosophy the Dalai Lama continually teaches, wrapped not in doctrine, but in compassion. Suffering is not what happens to us. Suffering is what we continue to carry. Life will always bring moments of hurt. That is part of being human. But carrying those moments long after the danger is gone, that is optional. That is learned. And what is learned can be unlearned. To unlearn suffering, we must understand a profound truth. The mind travels, but the body lives here. Right now, this very second, your heart is beating in the present. Your breath is happening in the present. Your senses are anchored in the present. Yet the mind is free to wander backward into corridors where no light shines anymore. We feel powerless because the mind moves so quickly. But presence is not about controlling the mind. It is about returning to the body, returning to the breath, returning to the experience unfolding now. This is why so many spiritual traditions emphasize grounding, breathwork, mindfulness, stillness. Not because they are mystical rituals, but because they are practical ways to reclaim the present moment from mental time travel. When you return to the body, the past loosens. When you return to the breath, the stories quiet. When you return to now, the emotional loop breaks. Stillness interrupts suffering. Silence interrupts repetition. And when those loops break, something miraculous becomes possible. The past stops defining the future. Imagine a person who once felt abandoned, For years, every new relationship they enter feels fragile, uncertain. They do not respond to the present. They respond to echoes. But the moment they realize this fear belongs to another chapter, they reclaim their capacity to love. Imagine someone who carries a failure from early life, an exam, a business, a moment of humiliation. Every new opportunity becomes a battlefield. They are not fighting the present challenge, they are fighting the ghost of an old one. But the moment they see this is not that moment, the ghost disappears. Imagine someone who lost something precious, a person, a path, a version of themselves. Grief shapes how they see the world, how they trust joy. But the moment they whisper, "It is okay to live again," space opens for new light to enter. Over and over, life offers us the same invitation. Come back. Begin again. This moment is yours. But to accept that invitation, we must release the weight in our hands. Not by force, not by denial, but by awareness. Awareness is the gentle interruption that breaks the emotional spell. When you notice the past rising, you can pause. When you pause, you can breathe. When you breathe, you return. When you return, you reclaim your life. And in the quiet that follows, something extraordinary appears. A truth both simple and liberating. You do not heal in the past. You heal in the present. You heal in the now. Let this line settle inside you like a stone falling into still water. The past is a lesson, not a sentence. And from this clarity, a new direction begins to form. A direction where the future is shaped not by the weight you carried, but by the space you finally create. The question now is, if the present is where healing happens, what story will you choose to write next? There was once a man named Arun, a quiet craftsman who lived in a small mountain village. He carved wooden bowls, each one shaped by hand, each one smoothed slowly by the rhythm of patience. People traveled far to buy his work, but few knew the real reason he carved. Arun was a man hiding from his own past. Years ago, he had lost someone he loved deeply, not through cruelty, not through betrayal, but through timing. A moment of hesitation, a misstep, a silence he regretted, and then she was gone. The details differed depending on which night he remembered them, but the emotion remained the same. Regret had grown roots inside him, and instead of facing the pain, he buried himself in the repetition of work. Chisel, sanding stone, soft spiral of wood. Stillness and movement intertwined. Each bowl he carved was perfect. Except for one thing. At the bottom of every bowl, hidden deep in the grain, was a small, nearly invisible flaw. A mark he carved intentionally. He told others it was symbolic. A reminder that nothing in life is perfect. But the truth was simpler, more painful. He carved the flaw because he felt flawed, and leaving something broken in his work made him feel less alone. One winter morning, a traveling monk visited the village. He walked with slow steps, listening more than speaking, observing more than judging. When he entered Arun's workshop, the monk picked up a newly finished bowl and ran his fingers over the subtle imperfection at its center. "Why do you carve this mark?" he asked gently. Arun hesitated. For a moment he wanted to lie. But something in the monk's presence, a soft heaviness, like deep water, made honesty easier. "It's a memory," Arun whispered. "Something I haven't been able to release." The monk nodded, as if he had heard this confession many times before, in many different forms. "Do you believe the memory still belongs to you?" the monk asked softly. "Or is it you who still belongs to the memory?" The question struck Arun like cold wind. He looked down at his hands, at the tiny curls of wood scattered across the floor, and suddenly felt the weight of years pressing against his chest. "I don't know how to let it go," he admitted. The monk placed the bowl on the table and turned it slowly in his hands. Light fell across its surface, highlighting the grain lines, the rings of time captured inside the wood. "Do you see this?" the monk said. "A tree records every year of its life in its body. There are rings for storms, for droughts, for years of abundance. The tree does not erase the hardest years, but it also doesn't keep reliving them." He tapped gently on the small carved flaw. "This," he said, "is you remembering the storm, instead of remembering that the storm has passed." Silence filled the workshop. Outside, snow drifted softly against the window. Inside, something deeper drifted inside Arun, a mix of sorrow and awakening. "But how?" Arun asked almost helplessly. "How do I stop carrying what hurt me?" The monk smiled, not with triumph, but with compassion, the kind that understands suffering without needing to fix it. "You mistake letting go for forgetting," he said. "But letting go simply means you stop touching the wound." Then, with deliberate slowness, the monk turned the bowl over and held it toward Arun. "Create something today," he said, "that you do not wound with your past. Carve one bowl without the flaw. Let that be the beginning." Arun stared at the wood for a long time. A bowl without a mark felt like a lie, a betrayal of the memory he had carried for so long. But the monk's words echoed in his mind. "Stop touching the wound." That afternoon, Arun sat in front of a fresh block of wood. His hands trembled, not from fear, but from possibility. Each stroke of the chisel felt unfamiliar, as if he were learning to breathe again. The wood curled away in ribbons. Light shifted through the window. The workshop, usually filled with the echo of old memories, felt strangely open, like a door quietly unlocking. When he finally finished, he held the bowl up to the fading light. Smooth, whole, unmarked. It was not perfect, no creation ever is, but it was the first thing he had made that belonged entirely to the present moment. For the first time in years, Arun felt a small, fragile peace settle inside him. The monk's question lingered. If you stopped touching your wound, what else might you be able to create? There comes a moment in every life when the past asks for the last word. It arrives quietly, in the pause before sleep, in the silence between conversations, in the stillness when we finally stop distracting ourselves. The moment when we sense, with a kind of trembling honesty, that something in us is ready to be released. But part of us is afraid to let go, because letting go feels like losing a piece of ourselves. It feels like saying the past didn't matter. It feels like letting someone win, or letting a failure define nothing, or letting a chapter end without the closure we once demanded. But the truth is softer, deeper, far more human. Letting go is not about erasing the past. It is about freeing the present. Imagine holding a glass of water at arm's length. For the first minute, it feels easy. For the next few minutes, it becomes uncomfortable. Hold it for an hour, and the pain becomes unbearable. Not because the glass grew heavier, but because you never put it down. This is what we do with memory. This is what we do with regret. This is what we do with the past. Arun, standing in his quiet workshop with the unmarked bowl in his hands, realized this. The pain he carried was never the true weight. The holding was the weight. The constant revisiting. The carving of old wounds into every new beginning. The belief that suffering honored what he had lost. But suffering is not loyalty. Suffering is simply suffering. And in that small room of wood dust and winter light, he felt a truth unfold inside him like warm breath on cold glass. Your past is not a home. It is only a place you once visited. The emotional crescendo of this realization is something we all feel at some point. That collapse of old beliefs, the shock of a deeper clarity, the trembling relief of setting something down after years of holding it too tightly. Because the present is not simply now. The present is the place where we breathe without permission. The present is the place where life happens. The present is the one space the past cannot enter unless we open the door. And for the first time, Arun placed the bowl, whole, unscarred, on his workbench. He didn't carve the memory into it. He didn't honor the wound. He honored the moment. And something inside him softened, not healed completely, but softened enough for light to enter. This is the return every human longs for, the return to themselves. Not the person shaped by pain, but the person shaped by presence. Not the person trapped in memory, but the person alive in this breath, this heartbeat, this possibility. And as the emotional peak recedes into quiet clarity, one realization remains, glowing like a lantern in the dark. You do not lose your past by letting it go. You lose only its power over you. So the question becomes gentle but unavoidable. If today is yours, why give it away to yesterday? There is a moment, small, almost invisible, when you feel the shift. A soft loosening in the chest. A breath that sinks a little deeper. A sense that the world hasn't changed, but you have changed in the way you meet it. This is what happens when you stop letting the past steal the present. Not a dramatic explosion, not a sudden burst of enlightenment, just a quiet returning to yourself. Because the present is not something you chase. It is something you allow. It waits patiently beneath the noise, beneath the regret, beneath the old stories that once felt like truth. And in this moment, right now, as you listen, you have a choice. You can pick up the old memory again, turn it over, reopen the wound, or you can let your hands rest. You can give this moment back to your life. So take one slow breath. Feel the air enter. Feel it leave. This simple rhythm is your anchor. The one thing the past cannot touch. And as your breath settles, ask yourself quietly, what is one thing, just one, that you can release today? Not forever, not perfectly, just today. Release the thought that drains you. Release the memory that tightens your chest. Release the version of yourself you no longer have to be. And in that release, you will feel the smallest pulse of freedom. The beginning of a life lived in the only place you truly exist. Here. Now. This moment. You do not heal by rewriting the past. You heal by reclaiming the present.